Good morning, adjudicators, honorable opponents, and fellow students. My name is Brigitta, Veskanatalie. In today's world, we keep seeing the same pattern. People demand world-changing technology. We want faster progress, safer systems, better access, and global impact, yet we often refuse to accept the economic need required to make any of that possible. That is exactly the tension in this debate. To start, this House is not debating whether profit is perfect. We are debating whether OpenAI should remain limited to a, let's face it, very extremely idealistic structure that cannot realistically sustain AGI development. That framing matters because the proposition wants us to judge this issue as though OpenAI had a simple moral choice between purity and greed. It does not. The real question is whether an organization trying to build AGI, one of the most expensive, infrastructure-heavy, and talent-intensive projects in human history, can survive under a structure that lacks the funding required to support it. Let us define this motion clearly. By OpenAI's transition toward a for-profit structure, we are referring to its shift towards a more commercially sustainable model, including a public benefit-oriented framework that still retains elements of mission-driven oversight. And by regret, the proposition wants us to believe that this change was a betrayal. We disagree. We argue that this transition was a necessary adaptation to reality. First, the claim that OpenAI betrayed its original mission is emotionally powerful but practically weak. A mission means very little if the organization collapses before it can achieve it. OpenAI's original goal was to develop AGI that benefits humanity. That goal is not served by a structure that can't fund the compute, talent, and infrastructure required to build such a system. AGI development needs huge computing power, global infrastructure, top researchers, and billions, potentially trillions of dollars in sustained investment. Even Sam Altman himself has argued that scaling AI would require capital far beyond what a pure nonprofit structure could realistically support. So this was not an abandonment of the mission. It was an adaptation to the scale of the mission. Now, second, the proposition argues that profit incentives automatically make AI dangerous. That sounds intuitive, but far too simplistic. Nonprofits are not automatically ethical, and for-profit companies are not automatically reckless. What matters is governance, accountability, and resources. In reality, safety research in AI at such a large scale is extremely expensive. If we want strong alignment work, misuse prevention, cybersecurity, monitoring, and real red teaming, you need serious funding. A well-funded organization can hire safety experts, conduct alignment research and safeguards, and respond to threats much faster. Without funding, safety becomes weaker, not stronger. The proposition team assumes profit destroys ethics, but underfunded organizations can be just as irresponsible, only less capable. In that sense, a sustainable financial model can actually support safety instead of undermining it. Third, the proposition may say that this creates an AI arms race, but the truth is the race already exists. Google, Meta, and DeepMind are all competing aggressively whether OpenAI joins in or not. If OpenAI alone stayed contained by a rigid nonprofit model, it would lose talent, lose computing capacity, and lose influence over how AGI develops globally. It only weakens one of the major players inside it. And long-term, a weaker OpenAI could leave the future of AI entirely to corporations or governments with even fewer ethical commitments. Refusing to compete does not end the race, it just guarantees you lose it. Fourth, the proposition says investor pressure will override safety, but that argument cuts both ways. Investor pressure can actually increase accountability. Large investors, regulators, and public markets care about reputational stability, long-term sustainability, and avoiding catastrophic scandals. A major AI disaster would destroy public trust and damage profitability immediately. So safety is not the enemy of profit, it is economically necessary. Meanwhile, nonprofit organizations are not magically safer because they often lack external pressure and broader accountability. History shows that concentrated power can fail in any structure. The issue is not whether the label says nonprofit or profit. The issue is whether the organization is forced to behave responsibly. Governance quality matters more than tax status. Fifth, the proposition may call this hypocritical, but changing strategy because circumstances changed is not hypocrisy. It is responsible leadership. When OpenAI was founded in 2015, generative AI was nowhere near the scale that it is today. Nobody predicted the global deployment, the hundreds of millions of users, and the infrastructure we see now. As the technology evolved, the organizational model had to evolve too. A structure designed for research, for a research lab cannot govern a technology reshaping the entire global economy. That is not betrayal, that is maturity. Finally, the infrastructure argument is decisive. Modern AI requires a gigantic data centers, specialized chips, global cloud infrastructure, and constant model training. That simply cannot be maintained through donations alone. OpenAI's partnerships and investments allow ChatGPT and other tools to scale worldwide. The proposition wants world-changing technology, but does not think that it requires a lot of money. So therefore, this House firmly believes that OpenAI's transition toward a for-profit structure does not betray its original cause. Thank you.